And now, a special announcement from our guest of honor. Hey, it's me, Jared Leto. I'm trying to be Italian, you see. Forget about it. Shut up in your face, lasagna. I auditioned to be Mario, but Chris Pratt got the job. How? And now, back to your regularly scheduled donkey.
It was seriously like he was in the room. It was.
I don't even have words right now. It's clear that all of us have seen House of Gucci, though, so that's good. All right.
It's one of the only things that I remember from it. We're gonna get It's another film that's gonna get Razzies and Oscars in the same year, possibly.
So let's start with this, shall we? AJ, you'll find this really funny. Maybe. Or it's sad. Or it's both. Same thing. So you'll see that this video for this podcast actually set for November 28th, 2021. And what you're thinking, Owen, where the hell's the rest of November on the network? We're getting there. Don't worry. We have to finish October 1st. And then we're getting there. Lots of videos coming, pretty much rapid fire as soon as AJ knocks out a couple more reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Which might be a little bit redundant because a lot of those movies are about to be talked about right now.
Exactly. So, lots of things to discuss. It is 7 p.m. here on the East Coast. My name is Owen. Joining me as always, we have Ashley.
Howdy doody. Happy, as I put in the description, is it Cyber Monday? Is it Cider Monday? Is it Spider Monday? Or is it I lost. I was going to come up with a third one, but I guess Cider Monday was the best I could do with.
It's called I need to realize when there's Black Friday or Cyber Monday deals and realize I have rent to pay as well and still not take advantage of said deals. But I do it anyway because I don't care anymore. Also joining us, we have AJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, same way. So, yeah. That's a cold open, ladies and gentlemen.
There was more enthusiasm in that than I saw from Jared Leto.
Not the entire packed theater I watched it with twice. They would disagree with you. Now, here's what we're going to do. It is November. Officially, like, it's shoot November 28th right now, even though the video is going to be something that's coming out, like, right away. What I've been doing lately, and if you haven't noticed, is after the videos are posted, I just post them directly to the Twitter, the @SirOwenDisney Twitter. And that's how everybody can get their eyes on them that hasn't really paid attention or don't know about the network and things. So yeah, this podcast will be posted as soon as the November 27th video, regardless what that may be, is posted on my Twitter. But it's going to be the header video on this network because it makes just sense to do that. So yeah, let's talk a little bit of awards, shall we? So real quick, of course, I'm sure you probably didn't notice, I'm wearing my Night Out on Earth tour shirt for water parks that I got to check out last Friday, and it was an amazing show. 40-year-old man in a mosh pit. Gotta love that. That's how comedy starts. And, yeah, great show. My favorite band, got to meet the band. The picture of me with the gentleman looked like with the hazmat suits. Yeah, that's Austin, Jeff, and Otto. That's water parks right there. So, yeah. Due to Steve Carino, everybody has to be protected. So needless to say, that's the reason why they're wearing the hazmat suits. So, lots of stuff tonight. The state of the race is just all over the place right now, like it always is. We'll get to that in a minute. But before we go any further, let me welcome everyone to our live chat. A lot of familiar faces are here and a lot of people from the past. I see Josephine is back. She says, hello, folks. I'm glad to be chatting with you all again. Sorry I didn't take part last season given the weak competition. Instead, I caught up with lots of old films. That's cool.
That's fair.
Exactly. Welcome, Mr. Top Hat. Welcome, Lorraine. Welcome, Brian. I have not been going to wrestling, but I did purchase tickets to the final Dynamite and the first Rampage the other night. So I will be in attendance for the last AEW Dynamite of 2021 and the first AEW Rampage of 2022 in Jacksonville, which I'm super excited about. And I've also been taking advantage, like I mentioned before, Black Friday deals. Got the brand new Darby Allin coffin drop, and of course the Danhausen Heels and Faces figure. So I got those. Josephine says you've been doing a great job on your reviews, AJ.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, we've got a lot of them, and there's still plenty more to come, actually. So yeah, hopefully your guys and girls out there are enjoying the reviews. They're going to come in abundance. Still, we still have a lot of stuff to review. Some of which AJ, like you just mentioned, is going to be reviewed on this very podcast.
Yeah, what I mean by there's enough is there's going to be like 5 in a row really soon.
Get you into November proper. And then a buttload of Sippin' Snacks and Voices of Liberty video because I'm still butthurt. I have to wait till January to see them again. Josephine says, also, in the meantime, on my YouTube channel, I've been writing and reading aloud my own inspirational poetry. And I also do movie reviews as well. Very cool. I'll check that out sometime.
I also appreciate the Cider Monday because if we were in the Matrix. I was thinking of something to do with that. But all I was thinking of was the Pokemon cipher, and that was spelt with an S. I completely forgot.
Well, speaking of House of Gucci, Pat, we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, I've been seeing lately, it says House of Gucci seems to really be falling off after its release. Well, it's funny, you talked about The Matrix a minute ago. Well, it's interesting because I've seen that trailer like 15 times now because of watching House of Gucci so many times. So needless to say, I don't care. So, but this is coming from the guy that never watched the original Matrix and only watched the sequels. There you go. So yeah, state of the race. Good Lord. Where did it begin?
Well, since it was brought up, yeah. As far as House of Gucci underperforming, I will say that I completely wiped it from the top 8 entirely. But at the same time, I can also imagine a weird universe where it still pulls like an American Hustle anyway, where it's a movie that like a lot of people vocally don't like, yet somehow it still gets like 10 nominations or something. But like I say, even the poster reminds me of American Hustle. It's weird.
Lorraine says, haven't seen Gucci yet, but if Leto's performance is as bad as I'm wondering, if he can skirt it to a nomination for the makeup alone. Yeah, makeup in general. You can just guarantee that nomination right now.
That was surprising because the poster and his character poster make the makeup look terrible. But in the actual movie itself, it's seamless. But that's...
Yeah.
But it's also that case of... kind of like what Ashley was alluding to. He's kind of the most interesting thing in the movie. And whether interesting is good or bad for you is...
Yeah, like,
but
at some point it's verging on Room territory. Honestly.
I wouldn't go that far.
No, but in like... you're not watching it because you're interested in the film. You're watching it to laugh at Jared Leto.
The people around me were only watching because they're marks for Gaga.
Who then disappears 2/3 into the film, so when it gets to the pivotal point of the thing that happens, it's done off screen. As if it isn't important enough for the ex-wife to go, yeah, kill my ex-husband.
AJ knows what I'm thinking right now. I'm not going to say it.
Well, I also hope that people in the chat who haven't seen it yet already know the true story going in. I'm assuming people do, but
It's brilliant. I've seen some reviews that have just been like, here's this woman and her, rise into the Gucci family and the story of the family. And then another review which blatantly just says, oh yeah, this happened. Like, wow. Like, I mean, it's hard to do for something like King Richard when it's like, okay, the fact that it's produced by Venus and Serena Williams clearly means it isn't about Tennessee Williams or something, like.
Okay. Well, I miss Rocky Top. Anyway, bring it back in 2022, please. Well, we're still finding what other movies can do in general without early words, says Brian. He says, I can also have a little break after finishing my Macy's Parade series after 4 years with 100 episodes. That's pretty cool. We know what it feels like to do like multiple hundreds of episodes of things, i.e. Sip and Snack, i.e. versus.
Because if I'm not mistaken, everything that's kind of in major contention has been seen now, right?
At least by somebody.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that's completely up in the air.
No.
Which helps don't look up a lot.
The critics saw a lot at the AFI Fest of stuff
right.
that is coming out like before Christmas. And obviously with Netflix having quite a lot of their releases, coming on to Netflix, the service itself, within, like, I think, is Don't Look Up, like, December 26th something? I think.
Like it's right before Christmas, and The Lost Daughter's right after.
Okay.
Okay.
I lose track. There's too many.
I think Don't Look Up might be the same day Being the Ricardos is going to Prime. I think.
So.
Yeah, I'm just looking at chat. I noticed Lorraine just mentioned West Side Story. I think that's the only one that hasn't been seen.
Yeah.
And I guess Spider-Man, because nobody will see that until after the thing is released. Why are people putting it in their list for the best Spider-Man film when they haven't seen it yet? Or is it leaked? Because that's apparently what Sony want to do.
So, Brian says only by the cast and crew of West Side Story. Welcome, Cassie. Josephine says it has the star power and MGM Amazon can bribe their way to a nod.
Yeah,
well,
for No Time to Die.
Okay, so before we get started, we're going to go a while anyway because this is what happens, especially when we have a lot to talk about, and hopefully the internet holds up for all of us. At the end of the day, can someone please tell me right now, do you prefer as a film goer watching a movie in a theater or watching it at home? No matter if you have like the greatest like Frank's 2000-inch TV or anything like that. Just if you have like the greatest setup in the history of man, what compares to watching a movie in a theater? Because everyone knows that's been following me for the longest time. I hate when I have to watch a movie on my computer. When I have to watch a movie on television, I'd much rather be in a theater because then I can focus and I'm not paying attention to anything else. I just want to see what everybody thinks.
We talking in general, or are we bringing COVID into this? Because that changes.
In general. The world was completely normal right now.
Yeah.
Would you rather go to a theater or would you rather relax at home?
I mean, it always depend on the mood, but I mean, obviously, I try to see as much in a theater as I can because that's when you're gonna get the best idea of how you truly feel about a movie. I think if you're just stuck with it with no distractions around you and it's huge in front of you.
Right.
But is it Cinemark that's jumping on the Netflix train?
Yeah.
And they're hoping that if it does well enough, AMC and Regal might follow suit, hopefully.
I mean, I have access to all three chains, but the thing is, it's like it's not easy to get to Regal. Ironic, isn't it? But Cinemark is quite literally in my backyard, and AMC is a ways away, but it's someplace I can go on the regular, so it doesn't make it that easy.
For me,
Ashley, you want to chime in?
For me, it's sort of like, if I can see it on the big screen, I will. If it's Netflix, I sort of don't have a choice, because apparently they really don't like putting it in like lots of screens. They're just happy enough to be on a small screen, which I think in some cases is disappointing. But in other cases, it's sort of understandable, because in a lot of cases it probably won't get enough money in. I'd have thought something like Red Notice would have done, just because it's that sort of box office thing that is sort of like great for the people with the popcorn and all that. But I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying.
Obviously, it can also depend on the movie sometimes. Like, I believe in our last video, I said I was getting ready to see Dune a second time. I've seen Dune 4 times now, and what it was at the theater and then HBO Max, and then I felt the need to go back to the theater to have that experience again, and then the fourth time was HBO Max again. So I tried to at least balance it out, but you can tell the difference.
Right. I just was curious about that on chat. A couple things real quick before we go any further. Brian also says Nightmare Alley and A Journal for Jordan haven't been seen either.
I keep forgetting about A Journal for Jordan.
I can't see the trailer all the time.
As much as I play up my love for Denzel, I keep forgetting that movie exists.
Smurfy Boy says, isn't Power of the Dog at the end of December?
That might be the one I was thinking of.
It's out now. It's on Netflix this coming Wednesday.
One of my best friends is in chat as well. Tim Knight says the Ghostbusters Afterlife gonna have Best Picture.
Oh my god.
It's chat. I always post in here unless it's derogatory, and then I stay away from it. Josephine says theater for the most part. I'll watch on the TV if I can't see in the theater. Tim says Resident Evil is a horrible movie.
Oh, I can't wait to find out. I will soon.
That review's coming up soon, everyone says, to AJ's chagrin.
Just quickly looking at the Netflix original films, Power of the Dog is Wednesday. Hand of God is December the 15th. Unforgivable, the unnecessary American remake of a British drama. Where have I heard that before? December 10th. And Don't Look Up is Christmas Eve. So I guess that's what the kids are going to be watching for 2.5 hours.
That's what I'm going to be watching for 2.5 hours.
Then again, there's also that, what's it called? I guess for international audiences, the Shaun the Sheep Christmas special. And there's also that Aardman thing about like a Robin, which I think might be up now. I don't know. They're probably going to be contenders for shorts in 12 months' time. I'm just warning everybody now.
When you say Aardman, my interest is peaked. So.
Yes. You get 2 for the price of 1.
Good God. Brian brings up a point. I get headaches at the theater sometimes and have other things I have to spend. Smurfy Boy says, I like to watch movies that are very long in theaters because if it's at home, I won't have the attention span. Brian says, the last time I went to the theaters during everything this last year for a Fathom event for the 20th anniversary of Thomas and the Magic Railroad.
What better reason?
Was that the one with Pierce Brosnan?
Alec Baldwin and Peter Fonda.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And Top Hat says...
I don't know why I know this, but yeah.
Oh, I do. And the Oscar for Best Picture goes to Space Jam: A New Legacy.
Oh, go fuck yourself.
Considering that elbow that he gave to the other player in the NBA last week, no.
Yeah, and you dumb marks that keep taking the heads off those LeBron figures, you need to there's a special place in hell for all of you. It's the stupidest thing in the world, and just give it up and stop ripping up the AEW figures. Seriously, it's dumb. TikTok is lame. So are you.
Why has nobody yet put an MJF head on a Miz model? That's what I want to know.
It's coming.
Do it.
This is a foreign language to me right now.
Brought to you by the Tender Bar. Coming December 17th to Amazon.
Oh, is it?
Allegedly.
I forgot it existed too.
Yeah, exactly.
Says the guy that talked about it in the first Popcast we did in August. Anyway, it's been a while. Brian says Mara Wilson. Lorraine says, I prefer to go to a theater, but I streamed a lot of the possible documentary contenders because it was the only way to watch them. Yeah, if it's the only way to watch something, I see the point. But it's hard for me to keep track of things, and I can fall asleep or lose track of interest of something I like, much less things I'm not interested in. So it's a lot easier to be in a theater where I can actually pay attention and am forced to pay attention. Tim's talking about Kingsman for December 22nd, and The Moon's Falling, going to be a really good movie coming up next year.
Yeah, Sing 2 is also that same day. And, yeah, Nightmare Alley's coming out the same day as Spider-Man. And The Lost Daughter as well, but I guess that's on Netflix, so it's got a chance of being watched somewhere else. Blimey.
Hope so. But yeah, state of the race, everyone. Now let's finally get to it. I don't even know how long we're the show we're into. At this point, we're going to have some fun tonight. So sit back, relax, grab some beverages and snacks, and sit here, and we're going to talk a little bit of Oscars, big top 8. But first, what's the state of the race, AJ?
Well, like I said, House of Gucci is obviously in a different place than when we left it.
Yep.
Which I kind of wonder if we should have seen that coming or not. I don't know, but
I sort of did, because I brought it up. Somebody went sort of mad at me or was like, "Why are you disrespecting the thing?" And it was like,
yep.
If they're not letting it be seen by even like the cast for the premiere until like 2 or 3 weeks before the thing is coming out, there's clearly got to be some concerns.
I mean,
and then of course Ridley Scott really screws it up by going, well, the reason my films don't do well is you fucking millennials with your fucking phones. Like, great.
Well,
so the people
hilarious.
that you're trying to get to watch this, you're already trying to turn off.
Well, I watched House of Gucci twice in the span of 2 weeks, and they were both with sellout theaters. So you wrap your head around that. The first one, that's obvious, because that was a special screening. It was only one night only. The second one, I cannot explain that. 2:15 on a Friday? Are you serious, bro?
It was a Friday everybody had off, though, I assume.
Probably. It was Black Friday. So, yeah, of course.
Yeah. It's one you want to see with a family. That's probably, it's that or Ghostbusters. I guess.
Always a reason to go see Ghostbusters again. Now,
over here, our choice was either House of Gucci or Encanto. That's literally playing in the biggest screen at the cinema closest to me in like a double bill. You can see Encanto and then House of Gucci. The perfect thing. Family and it's all about family. Dom Toretto was right. Fast 10 confirmed.
AJ, you can bring this. We can bring this up. Do you remember the time that I think it was? I don't remember what movie was with it. There was like a kids movie that was playing at the time. You might remember it more than I do. But I remember that there was a kids movie and an adult movie playing in the same theater. I believe the second movie was Unfaithful, and there was like a kids movie playing with it, and they accidentally started the wrong movie, which makes me laugh now because I became a projectionist later in life.
I'm almost positive it was Spirit Stallion of Cimarron.
It was Spirit, yes. It was
and
Spirit
then
Unfaithful.
And the same thing later happened with Alpha and Omega and Jackass 3.
Yes, it did. Because I had to stop that.
And then there was when the uncensored Nymphomaniac trailer played in front of Frozen, which I'm pretty sure was a malicious act and not an accident.
That was not something I did at my local
Do you
theater, and it's
want to
not
have
something I
a
had anything to do with.
threesome?
Oh God,
That's amazing that was right off the top of your head, by the way.
Smurfy Boy says, "What is Ridley Scott going to do now? House of Gucci is dead, and Last Duel bombed at the box office." And says Scott joins the ranks that he joins other filmmakers that hate the MCU.
And then Stellan Skarsgård gives like an essay on, I respect that, but they're wrong, but they're also right. It's like, okay. 500 words on my office desk tomorrow, Stellan.
Yeah, Pop Hat's right on this. A trailer for Sausage Party played before Finding Dory.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
To some extent, if you just look at the trailer, it seems like okay as like an animation. It's only when it goes crazy in those last 5-10 minutes of the film when then it would be a bit okay.
So Tim says it was based on a true story. Brian says also FYC has been showed up, and we found out where McDormand is, but something Nightmare Alley when it comes to 2 stars of Carol. Bleecker Street has completely dropped the ball in campaigning for mass. Yeah, that's true. Josephine says, I blame the bombing of Last Duel and the lack of marketing on behalf of Disney. I love the little emoticon of the person in like jousting. That's amazing. Like the fencing costume that's in the live chat right now. You guys can't see it, but it's there and it's making me laugh. I think studios need to go beyond social media marketing and do print ads, billboard and taxi cab ads more often since people don't turn on regular TVs as much. Very, very true. Could be an interesting show tonight. I can tell already.
Sitting here second guessing some choices I made because I forgot that Mass was Bleecker Street, and they literally have a reputation for fucking this up.
Oh God, you're right. Dang. Well, I've already changed enough things already. I changed things last night. I'll change things tonight. AJ knows where I've changed today. So, I love the ECW logo. I just noticed that, Ashley. Good job.
Hey, 2 months ago we had Earth, Wind and Fire September in the corner. Last month we had Sergei Eisenstein's October. The sad thing is next month it's probably going to have to be December to Dismember. Dear God.
No. We're using November Rain next year. Anyway, so what we're doing is we're doing the top 8 categories, and this will be the second to last one where we don't go through more than the 8. But then after that, all bets are off because we're trying to predict everything in January, which is going to be real interesting because it's right after I come back from California and right after the major wrestling figure podcast, Live 11 in Orlando.
The one thing I do want to mention, saving me having to do it later, the timing of this is absolutely perfect because we aren't influenced by anything. Because tomorrow, the 29th, is the Gotham Award nominations, and the following day, the 30th, is the National Board of Reviews nominations. So we're getting ahead of everything else.
And
these aren't influenced.
I have also not seen a lot of the things that I am running. So, because I have not jumped into the Netflix bandwagon yet, because I'm still hoping that it comes out in a theater. And yes, Tim, you bring up the fact that Scream is coming out on January 14th. I can't freaking wait, and I'll be watching it in California. So yeah, that's that. Now, there's a lot of things that change with me. I know AJ changed a lot of things too. You guys and girls are about to find out what we did change. I don't know what Ashley's doing, but we're about to find out. So let's delve into the first of the big 8 categories. We're going to go into best, let's go with adapted screenplay.
You had to think about that.
No, I just wanted to see if I wanted to do adapted first or original first. I have an order in front of me. I'm not paying attention. I have like electric running through my back right now to make me feel better. So there you go.
What is it? 2013 since we've been doing this. That is 8 years.
I'm aware
Yeah.
of that.
So as it's always been adapted. I do need to address something before I say these five.
Oh boy.
I've been saying the whole season that I feel like people have been overestimating Nightmare Alley because Del Toro's last movie won Best Picture. So it's like, so automatically his next one will do great. But I've just been having this feeling that Nightmare Alley is going to be like considered a very good genre movie and get some tech nominations, and that'll be it, despite its big ensemble and having a director that just won a few years ago.
Right.
So I've wiped Nightmare Alley completely from the top 8, or the big 8 categories. Which I might regret, maybe, but there's a lot we've got to work with.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I haven't heard much about Nightmare Alley. Its premiere is on Wednesday.
So, with that in mind, my adapted screenplays are The Humans, The Lost Daughter, Passing, The Power of the Dog, and The Tragedy of Macbeth. I can't remember what got mentioned in the last video and what didn't, since that thing is all chopped to hell because of my shitty internet. But I
Sure.
can't remember if I mentioned or not. The very first question I had when we started this season was, how adapted would Macbeth be, or would it just be copy and paste Shakespeare? And I saw that apparently it's rated R just for language. So it seems clear he took liberties adapting the dialogue. So so I feel okay about that. There was the question of the actresses turned writer-directors this year with Maggie Gyllenhaal and Rebecca Hall. And it seems to be lining up that we'd get both of them. I know Passing kind of seems a bit more off the radar than some other things, but I feel like it might show up at least a couple of times. And the Lost Daughter feels good, and obviously the Power of the Dog. Power of the Dog's probably the front runner. Which just leaves The Humans, which is really just kind of the other thing remaining if I'm taking out House of Gucci and Nightmare Alley. I think there might have been like one more option or something that I'm forgetting, but yeah, but I feel like The Humans might stand out in a couple more ways as well, and with that backing it, especially with Richard Jenkins being towards the top of the supporting actor list, it's gonna be in people's minds in some way, and this category is pretty weak. So that's the 5 I went with. And like we've said before, play adaptations seem to do fairly well, so there seem to be a good bet, so that's where I land with those.
Ashley, what do you got?
I went for a play of a different kind. So I have Lost Daughter, Nightmare Alley, Passing, Power of the Dog, and Tick Tick Boom.
Nice.
Because it's widely known that musical adaptations mostly aren't great when they're adapted to screen. They can't seem to take it out of the stage persona. This might be a hint as to something coming later on, but you can see that Lin-Manuel Miranda's passion for this, in that he made sure that the script worked as a film while also having the sort of nods of the music from the original production and everything, and not overshadow it. So I think in that respect, by doing it right, I can't say La La Land style because that obviously never was a musical on the stage beforehand, but it feels like that. It feels like it's actually been properly crafted for a cinematic experience rather than just, like we've seen plenty of times over the decades and whatever of adapting musicals for film. So yeah, I think the thing that I moved out was House of Gucci because that script. We should have known it was from the person that wrote The Prince of Tides. Or co-written by the person that did Prince of Tides, I should say.
I'm in love with Tick Tick Boom. So I literally felt like I was in church just now. Like every few words you were saying, I was just going, "Amen, amen."
Well, brother, the congregation is going to continue because it's my turn to go now.
The fact that it has a Sondheim cameo, considering his passing this past week, is like this is, and like even his words and everything sound so genuine, even though it's basically him just recreating what he probably did 30 years ago. Again,
I love that detail.
All right, so of course, as we always do, I'll take care of chat before I do mine. Top Hat says, Coda, Humans, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, and Tragedy of Macbeth. Brian says, Humans, Lost Daughter, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, Tragedy of Macbeth. Top Hat says, this is the first category removed, House of Gucci. Get there. Smurfy Boy says, Power of the Dog, Nightmare Alley, Coda, Lost Daughter, Tragedy of Macbeth. That sounds a little familiar. Brian says, all 3 Netflix female-directed movies in adapted as possible. Journal for Jordan AJ. Lorraine says, Power of the Dog, House of Gucci, Tragedy of Macbeth, Nightmare Alley, and Coda. Top Hat says, Hallelujah. Not yeah. Sorry, I don't go to that school, my friend. But Josephine apparently says that Adelphi, take a shot, was Jonathan Larson's alma mater, and that's as well.
Mm-hmm.
And being the resident rent mark that I am, obviously I want this as well. And let the congregation continue, because best adapted screenplays changed a lot for me. What we did have previously was Coda and The Tragedy of Macbeth and The Power of the Dog. They stay the same. Nightmare Alley, Dunzo. It's gone and it's been replaced by Tick Tick Boom. And I have removed House of Gucci for the first debut for me this season of The Lost Daughter. I'm kind of thinking something's going to happen a little bit later on. And AJ and I had the conversation earlier today about the 2 movies that kind of go hand in hand when it comes to an acting performance and a screenplay performance. And AJ went one route, I went the other. So keep that in mind as we continue when I mention The Lost Daughter moving into my adapted screenplay lineup.
Yeah, when I mentioned there was one more contender I couldn't think of, it was Coda.
Yeah.
Which I could be underestimating, but we'll see.
I think I'm one of the only people that's still keeping Matlin and alive when it comes to predictions, but we'll see. Maybe I'm not going to be the only one to die on that hill. Let's go into another category, which is absolutely insane. Best original screenplay.
This fucking category, man. I mean, it's great.
Tell me about it, man.
I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing about this is I love that there's so many options, but because we have to do this, I hate it too.
We say this every year too. It's not like anything changes.
These next 2 categories are a fucking nightmare as far as having choices. There's no way, like, there's going to be something that gets snubbed. That's just basic math. Something will be snubbed because there's only 5 slots. So are we doing this officially?
Oh yeah.
I've got Belfast, Don't Look Up, Licorice Pizza, Mass, and Parallel Mothers. I was really on the French Dispatch train here, and if you saw those reviews, you know that I love the French Dispatch so much. Oh my god.
It's all together this week.
But I was thinking, I wonder if it's going to be too alienating as far as its narrative, and people won't take to it as much as they took to Moonrise Kingdom or Grand Budapest or even Tenenbaums.
Hello.
Um, and I really, really considered Spencer. I've been like Spencer's been on the cusp every time we've done this, and I've never put it in there yet. It's always there. I was going all in on Mike Mills for a while there with Come On, Come On, who's the last person I took out, and of course Sorkin's always an option, but Belfast, Don't Look Up, and Licorice Pizza basically speak for themselves. I was on the fence about Don't Look Up, but just those few reactions that came out are like, yeah, I guess that's what we thought. Okay, so Don't Look Up is probably pretty good here because it seems like prime McKay, like Academy favorite McKay. Mass's script is just one of those things that's so impressive and just nothing but dialogue. It just seems like something that was tailor made to be the sort of fourth or fifth place spot here that we sometimes see. And for Parallel Mothers, obviously the reviews and reactions have been great for it, and Almodovar has had a lot of luck in this category before. Like when you think like international directors, he's usually like the most likely one to break through in this category. So with that on top of that and on top of the cruise buzz, I feel good with going with him. But I mean, it could easily be a revolving door. It could be any one of these like 9 or 10. So this is what it is for now. So we'll see what happens.
What do you got, Ashley?
I have Belfast, Come On, Come On, Don't Look Up, King Richard, and Licorice Pizza. Yeah, Don't Look Up's showing up again because just like with House of Gucci, the trailer, I'm hoping, misrepresents the actual film.
That's what it sounds
Because
like.
the teaser trailer really sort of like, I'm worried about this. And the full trailer was like, okay, there's, there's chance, but, it still doesn't look like it's right. But having seen from the people that did get to see it, it's the sort of material that I think would be perfect for sort of a nod here. French Dispatch moves out because I don't think it's as strong as his last big juggernaut of the award season, which was Grand Budapest. I just don't think, in many aspects, it's strong enough. In a lot of ways, and there might be more general contenders that might be in with a better chance in some of the categories.
It just feels like it's getting buried by all the other competition.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it doesn't help that it sort of feels like 3 short movies in one. And I've been rewatching the one that was it last year? No, it couldn't have been last year. From like 2 or 3 years ago, that random Christmas H&M commercial, which in itself was like a really good like 5-minute short film, which then led me down the rabbit hole of that car driving one that he did with Jason Schwartzman, which also was good and was simple, and it just felt like he's just taken 3 of those, dragged them out, and just made Bill Murray go, well, you can't write that. Or something like that. That being said, there's other aspects like, cinematography and sort of set design and everything where I think it's more likely to get some tech stuff, but yeah, some of the categories that I did have it in are not showing up.
My response to you. So
How? I didn't see that. I'm trying to look
Top
at the
Hat
list.
says
Oh.
Bel- Top, Top Top Hat says Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, and Mass. This category feels like a revolving door of choices. Yeah, tell me about it. Belfast, Licorice Pizza, Don't Look Up, Mass, King Richard. Josephine says, love the French Dispatch, too. It's being criminally undervalued. Yeah, absolutely.
When I had to take it out of my predictions, I felt like I could hear taps playing somewhere. It was an unfortunate moment.
Everyone that knows me and it's known the way I do things here, I don't take things I love out until I absolutely am forced to. That being said, before I go into what I'm going to say, let's see. I think I said Brian's already. Yeah, being the Ricardos, Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, and Licorice Pizza. Smurfy Boy says Belfast, Licorice Pizza, King Richard, Don't Look Up, and Being the Ricardos. Josephine says, I would love to see Worst Person in the World nominated in original screenplay. Ryan Steve for actress and Lai for supporting actor as well. Well, this is the only category of the top 8 that my predictions did not change at all. I continue to have Being the Ricardos, Belfast, Don't Look Up, Licorice Pizza, and The French Dispatch. King Richard was my cusp this time around. And AJ and I were having a conversation, and I was going to do something, and I was going to do something big. And then I was like, the only thing I could possibly bump out, if it's me. Okay. So if you're me, look at it from my perspective. I'm not bumping out Ricardo's because obviously we know since August I've had all the hope in the world for it. I'm not going to bump out Don't Look Up because it's early buzz. I'm definitely not bumping out Licorice Pizza for any reason. And I'd love to bump out Belfast, but I can't because it's too strong. So it's the only thing I could probably bump out is my favorite movie of the year, and I'm not doing that. So until I'm absolutely forced to, I'm keeping my 5 as is. Now, we roll into a category that was my other stay the same until I thought about it and had a little conversation today. AJ, let's talk Best Supporting Actress.
How many hours does everybody have before we start?
When my earbuds die, that's going to be bad.
So, I do have to say this is a wonderful turnaround because we say every year this is the worst category. This is usually a dead zone of a category.
Yeah.
And now it's been a long time since I've seen a competition this steep in one category. There are people who are contenders in this category right now who would probably be runaway favorites in any other year that might just get snubbed altogether because there's so many contenders. They're so big. There's so many acting showcases this year. It's insane. So, with that in mind, I settled on Katrina Bow for Belfast, Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter, Kirsten Dunst for The Power of the Dog, Jane Howdyshaw for The Humans, and Ruth Negga for Passing. It's worth noting a lot of this was influenced by seeing some of these movies. If I hadn't seen some of these, and if I'm reading The Lost Daughter right now, I'm actually almost done with it. If all of that wasn't happening, if I hadn't seen those movies or had been reading The Lost Daughter, this list would probably be completely different. So, I guess I'll start with what I was going to do, to the point that it's even crossed out. I just watched The Power of the Dog very, very recently. Like, I had already made a decision before I saw The Power of the Dog. And that was, there's always some crazy snub that happens. There's somebody that looks like they're at the front of the pack that could just get taken out entirely. by some surprise nomination or something. It happens all the time. There's always that case of, oh, I can't believe that happened. I can't believe that person didn't make it. And I had convinced myself that was going to be Dunst. And I put Ann Dowd there instead. But then I'm watching Power of the Dog, and I was in denial for so long. Because for the first half of the movie, she's just kind of there. But after Cumberbatch essentially leaves his mark on her, the role gets showier and showier and showier as it goes until the end. And the more it got showier, the more I was like trying to convince myself it could still happen. She could still get snubbed. Yeah, she could get snubbed, sure. And just less and less, I was like, there's no way she's getting snubbed for this. There's no fucking way she doesn't make it.
By the end of the film, it's like, well, I guess that's the one that I have to put in permanent pen, not pencil.
And so what I hated doing was taking Ann Dowd out because I've been very adamant about her through the whole season so far. But after watching Mass, I was thinking, and normally I don't go into the whole vote. Like I've said many times during these that people put too much stock in the whole vote splitting thing because usually more often than not, there's a pretty clear favorite when there's two people at odds. But I was starting to wonder how many people will see Mass and not know whether to vote for Ann Dowd or Martha Plimpton. Because both of them are extremely showy in two completely different ways. Martha Plimpton's the big performance, and Dowd is the downplayed performance. And I could very easily see the love for that splitting. If they go for Mass at all, because once again, Bleak Street. But then there's we're talking about Reading the Lost Daughter. Every time like the younger version of her character is in it, it's like if the book is faithfully adapted in the movie, which I'm assuming it probably is, pretty much every scene that Buckley has is going to be super, super showy. And once again, she's just basically been on the verge of breaking out in this really big way. So I feel good about that. I don't feel good about taking Ingenue Ellis out. But, I mean, as far as, like, these performances being much more showy, and like I said, some of these being, like... Because I don't ever see a parallel universe where Ellis is a winning performance. I can definitely see her being nominated. But Jane Houdyshell and The Humans, like, Richard Jenkins has been having all the buzz for that for a while. It's essentially her movie. Like, that her performance is so almost like the heart and center of the whole movie. And just the more it goes on and the more that's revealed about that character, in any other year, she could sweep. And honestly, I'm actually surprised that Ruth Negga is as low on the totem pole as she seems to be here, because I definitely see another universe where Ruth Negga is just sweeping her passing. Just, like, relentlessly sweeping. But it just shows the competition we have, that Ruth Negga feels like she's just barely on the cusp of being in the conversation. But I think that's going to shine through, similarly to how she managed to break through for Loving. And I feel like if she can break through, she might be able to do really well if more people see the performance. I don't really know anything about Belfast, but for the simple fact that Katrina Balfe is in it and seems to have a meaty part in it, she seems to be good to go. There is one person I wanted to venture into, and I was like so convinced I was going to go for this until I just saw the competition. But somebody is getting singled out in Macbeth. An actress named Catherine Hunter is playing all three witches, and apparently this is like her first like real movie role when she's been like a legend on the stage. She only has 3 scenes, and there's been like at least 1 or 2 articles written entirely about her performance. And that's something I really wanted to go with also as one of those kind of last minute what the fuck nominations, but I just don't think there's not room in this category for a what the fuck. So that's what to me is going on in this category a couple of hours later. So good luck to all of them. because who the fuck knows?
Ashley, what do you got?
I have Katrina Balfour for Belfast, Judi Dench for Belfast, because Dench is getting pulled from my cold dead hands. Kirsten Dunst for Power of the Dog, Eljanu Ellis for King Richard, and Ruth Negga for Passing. I think I put Ellis in place of Marlee Matlin. Having seen the performance, it's the main reason why the Will Smith performance works, because you've got a really key character in the wife and the mother and the coach, whoever you want to call it, being such like a pivotal balance point to Richard's sort of kookiness, shall we say. And I think that's just significant enough. Yeah, I'm just having two for Belfast in here, just because apparently everybody has to be in consideration. Because Kenneth Branagh has his ways. And yeah, Dunst is probably staying here as well. And it's a shame that Ruth is on the cusp of possibly getting knocked out for somebody else, whether it's Jessie Buckley or Ann Dowd or whatever. So I don't know. We'll have to see. That's my 5 as it stands. I just want Judi Dench in there just because Judi Dench. And then next year it'll be Maggie Smith again for Downton 2 Electric Boogaloo. It's even in France. What's that all about?
Josephine says, I read somewhere that King Richard in French Dispatch, my category fraud into adapted.
Interesting.
I'd be happy with that, because then I could make things a lot easier on myself.
It'd be easier for them to get in, too.
I can't remember whether there is sort of like a book that is related to King Richard. French Dispatch is like
I thought
really
there was.
cumbersome. I'm trying to work out where the French Dispatch book is.
So
wasn't Grand Budapest also in a gray? It was in original, but wasn't that also kind of a gray area?
Yeah.
I mean, considering that YouTube video that I saw of basically that one scene
Lorraine says,
that one scene in Grand Budapest basically being a near shot-for-shot replication of Torn Curtain. Makes me wonder, is that why we're getting confused with, is it adapted or original?
Right. So Lorraine says Balf, Dunst, Dench, Dowd, Ellis. Top Hat says Balf, Dowd, Dunst, Ellis, Matlin. Brian says Balf, DeBose, Dowd, Dunst, and Ellis. Didn't change mine from last month. Smurfy Boy says Dunst, Nega, Dowd, Ellis, and Balf. Smurfy Boy says momentum for Ann Dowd has died due to Bleecker Street's awful campaigning, but if she does win, it's strictly due to her performance. Yes, 100%. Brian says Nina Arianda and being the Ricardos. We'll get to that. And Ariana Grande, and don't look it up. Top Bet says no, Grande seems more likely for original song. We'll get to that in 2 months. So Nina Arianda playing Vivian Vance as the Resident go all in on one movie just for no reason really at all. Like, no bias or anything, just go all in on one movie. I've done that with Being the Ricardos this season, and I'll continue to do so. You'll find that out soon enough. But yeah, I honestly did think about putting her in this lineup, but I really couldn't see that it necessarily be the same circumstance, so it's not there yet. I did have my lineup exactly the same. And I watched King Richard, and I believe It's funny. I believe when AJ doesn't believe anymore, because my best supporting actress lineup is still Judi Dench for Belfast, Marley Matlin for Coda, Annabelle for Belfast, and Kirsten Dunst for The Power of the Dog. And yes, welcome Andre King Richard to my lineup, replacing Ann Dowd for Mass.
Hang on, you've got the AJ issues. You broke up because I only had 4.
I don't care. I don't care. Deal with it. Anjanae Ellis is going to be joining what my lineup was for last month. Take a shot. Dench, Dunst, Balfe, and Matlin. Now, I'm also thinking that it may be possible that we're not getting a double nomination for Belfast. And I kind of hope for that, because then someone else can slip in there that needs to be in there just the same. Now, granted, the performances in Belfast speak for themselves, but I liked it for what it was. But at the end of the day, I mean, I could see better options for picture if this seems to be the front runner everybody thinks it is. And a double nomination supporting actress seems very likely. But like AJ mentioned, this is a bloodbath, honestly. There's many people that are going to miss out, and it's a rotten, dirty shame. Ruth Negga was on this lineup for the longest time for me as well. She was another cusp idea, but like I said before, as I alluded to earlier, when it was time to go between Passing and The Lost Daughter with their respective acting performances, AJ went one route, I went the other. So that's the reason why Ruth Negga missed my lineup. And Marley Matlin, I think people are underestimating her, honestly. I know about the past, and I know that apparently from what I'm hearing, this seems to be a very, not necessarily a showy part, obviously, but it's going to be something that's going to basically show what can be done, like an acting showcase. So I'm thinking it's a good possibility that this may end up being the surprise to everybody but us that gets in there come Oscar nominations morning. But I think Dunst, Dench, Balfe, they're pretty much locked in. It's like, pick your poison who you want for 4 and 5 at this rate.
Don't forget how dangerous the L word is.
There's nothing. There's no loss in this world anymore, because you never know what may happen. But
for a minute there, AJ, I thought you meant the TV series, The L Word.
Those 3 are right now.
No, beware, Mia Kirshner will have a comeback someday. No, you said locked in. You doomed somebody.
Well, let's talk about. Maybe I doomed the person I wanted to doom. Who knows? You're very, very safe. Anyway, speaking of bloodbath and AJ's favorite category across the boards, Best Supporting Actor.
It feels so uneventful compared to Supporting Actress, which once again is a very interesting turn of events. I made one change. My one changes a name, but not a movie. So all 5 movies are the same, but a name is different. I have Bradley Cooper for Licorice Pizza, Kieran Hines for Belfast, Jason Isaacs for Mass, Richard Jenkins for The Humans, and Jesse Plemons for The Power of the Dog. I know Cody Smith-McPhee's got all the hype, but I'm getting Nocturnal Animals vibes a little bit. You know? Plemons is the more recognizable name. He's got a lot more screen time, and honestly, I feel like he just left it. I know this is like kind of bringing my personal opinion into what the Academy might think, which is a kiss of death, and you should not do that at all when doing this. But I'm just really getting the Nocturnal Animals vibes, where even if Cody Smith-McPhee gets like all the precursors, I would probably still bet on Plemons anyway, based on name value and what he gets to do with it. Another thing is like, while Clemens is certainly downplayed, he's more showy. Curtis McPhee's performance has to be much more downplayed and subtle, which may ultimately be the death of him when you've got these two choices together. But because it looks like Clemens is only going to be in the first half, and then McPhee takes over in the second half. But Clemens does eventually come back, and they're all kind of in the movie together, and he still gets to leave his impact. So, and his scenes with Dunst at the beginning are really strong, and you can tell the whole, obviously with him and Dunst falling in love, that's, you can only imagine how much or little acting is actually there, given the real life couple status. And that comes through. So yeah, so that's really the only change I made, which is not a big one at all. So that's pretty much it for that. And once again, as far as Mask goes and Bleecker Street, Jason Isaacs's big scene is a big fucking scene. Like they could very easily transcend having a shitty distributor, and the fact that pretty much carries over. His big scene pretty much carries over for his performance throughout the entire second half, as his emotions just roller coaster. That's gotta leave impressions, even if Bleecker Street's not putting you out there at all or campaigning worth a shit. That's a performance that's gotta really speak for itself, and I really hope that it does. So, yeah. So that's where I am with those 5.
Ashley, what do you got?
I have, in reverse order, Timothy Spall for Spencer. Although that's looking more and more like, I want it to happen. So that, he's most on the cusp of going. Cody Smith McPhee for Power of a Dog. Hello to Jason Isaacs for Mass. Kieran Hines for Belfast. And despite the fact that if you watch the trailer, you've apparently watched pretty much his entire film presence, Bradley Cooper for Licorice Pizza. Because Bradley Cooper is this year's Shakespeare in Love Judi Dench. You're not in it for a while, but boy, you're going to get nominated. Streisand.
I saw, obviously I don't watch the trailers, but I saw like the cast list on the poster, and I noticed he was kind of far down.
Well, he's
Is that,
the and.
are we under the impression that's predicted at the same time?
He's the and.
No, that could go either way.
He's the and in the thing. They're like trying to go for the big sort of marquee thing at the end, I think. Also, because there's, looking at the cast list. Hang on, I need to get back to it. The fact that John C. Reilly's going to be playing Fred Gwynn, aka Herman Munster. That is genius. I approve. That alone is like, yes, do it.
The very first thing I notice is their heads are the opposite shape of each other. That's the first thing I notice. I mean, I can kind of still see it working, but that's random.
I love the fact that Oliver Hardy could actually be Fred Gwynn, just with a lot of makeup.
I mean, the idea of John C. Reilly being back in a PTA movie makes me very happy, but I'm a little confused still.
So yeah, it seems like it's cutting out a little bit here. I don't know what's all coming across. For me, it seems like it's extremely choppy right now. So my apologies for the quality as we progress in the show. Smurfy Boy says, what about Cate Blanchett since she's in supporting now? I mean,
is that Nightmare Alley or Don't Look Up?
Or both.
I think she's being campaigned in lead for Nightmare Alley, isn't she?
I have no
idea.
From the original.
Yes.
from the original, it makes sense that she would be
Oh,
more
but
that.
yeah,
But
this
we know about category
time
fraud.
around.
We know about category fraud.
Murphy Boy says supporting actor is the weakest this year. Brian says Alvarez, Cooper, Hines, Isaacs, and Simmons. Top Hat says Cooper, Dornan, Jenkins, Leto, Smith, McPhee. Leto is on thin ice. Lorraine says Smith, McPhee, Hawkins, Hines, Isaacs, and Leto. Murphy Boy says Hines. Murphy Boy says if Warner Brothers wanted an acting nomination, they'd campaign Affleck for Thunderbar. Well, here's what I did. So, staying with my lineup, we have Saren Hines for Belfast, Cody Smith McPhee for Power of the Dog, and Bradley Cooper for Licorice Pizza. Like, you don't think I'm going to go with John Peters all day, every day. Anyway, now joining my lineup, this has been a wild one, everyone. This was and then it went to Timothy Spall, and now playing William Frawley. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be a funny role, and it's going to be a showy role, and I think that J.K. Simmons is like god of acting, so he can do anything he puts his mind to. So needless to say, I think it's a very good possibility it's going to happen. And here's where the issue lies. We talked a little bit ago about this, how I brought in Anjanae Ellis. And I'm sure you could just starting to get some buzz now. And, you know, if they like the movie that much, I can honestly see it happening. So I'm going to go ahead and take Jamie Dornan out. And I'm replacing him with John Bernthal.
Yes! The guy that's in literally everything this year.
Everything.
I completely forgot he was... was Those Who Wish Me Dead this year? Would that be eligible if it was? Or was that last year?
Yeah, it was this year.
If it was like most supporting actor performances, John Bernthal would be in all of them.
He's finally got a chance to get his just due of a nomination for the Academy Award, and I think this might be it. So we'll see if that ends up being the same. Yeah, it's just like AJ was trying to explain. He explained to everybody here. For those of you that have seen it and haven't seen Power of the Dog, it's like it seems like you've got one performance which everybody's talking about, and you got one performance which everybody's not necessarily talking about. And Popcast Network has never been one to completely go with the odds. It's our HHN takes every year. So yeah, anything's possible at this point where they're going to go with that. So now, Best Actress.
Hold on.
I did.
Hang on, I'm just doing a technical switch because I forgot to do the whole region thing just in case it improves the internet possibly for Owen by switching from automatic on the region thing to US East. So we'll see if that fixes the glitches, because like some of that I was on tenterhooks. One, because the call was going a bit weird, Owen, but two, I was thinking, oh wait, he mentioned King Richard. Is the mad lad gonna do what I think he's gonna do? So
well, he almost went all in, but I couldn't bump it out of Screenplay, so there you go.
Before we go into actors, I had one more question regarding the Power of the Dog Nocturnal Animals thing I was doing. Obviously, Aaron Taylor Johnson won the Globe and was nominated at BAFTA. I was trying to remember, was there any sign of Shannon at all before Oscar nominations day?
Hang on.
Because I was thinking it was all Aaron Taylor Johnson and Shannon kind of just dropped in on us, which is what I'm seeing with the Cody Smith McPhee Jesse Plemons thing.
Let me have a quick look. Nocturnal Animals.
And while we're on the subject, another argument could be that younger actors tend to have a hard time getting in, because we do have because Lucas Hedges feels like a standout, and then there was Chalamet for Call Me by Your Name. But the thing is you'll notice while Chalamet did get in for Call Me by Your Name, Chalamet was right on the perfect path to get in the very next year and didn't. So it's like the path for young actors has been pretty steep in a lot of scenarios. So that's another reason where I could see them potentially going for Plemons instead.
Yeah, but every year they always break these traditions. We always talk about that. Like, you never know what'll be the year that they break these so-called traditions we've had from year on year on.
Yeah, because I guess with those two examples I just gave, it just occurred to me that Hedges and Chalamet were 2 consecutive years. So,
Yep.
But I guess anything could. But I'll go ahead and use it as an argument anyway because I need it.
The most notable thing I can see with regards to Shannon.
Critics' Choice.
No, it wasn't even that. Where was it? I've lost it now. What the? I literally had it here.
Check Critics' Choice.
The National Society of Film Critics. I don't think it even made Critics' Choice. But it isn't listed in Wikipedia. So if it is,
I'm reading it. 3 people.
Oh right, yeah, because they did it in December. I forgot. Yeah. So yeah, the only major ones was Critics' Choice and the National Society of Film Critics. What did he lose to that year? Jeff Bridges was number 2, and Ali was. Wow, they actually list the number of votes. Shannon had 14, Bridges had 18, Ali had 72.
Good God. I like Moonlight, but not that much. Good Lord.
That out of all the other categories that year, with the top 3, listed, that was the one that had the biggest gap between first and second. By far.
Should think so.
All right. More chat stuff. For your consideration, Edge, showing Blanchett supporting and Mark for Nightmare Alley. Josephine asks, has anybody seen Licorice Pizza yet? I can't wait for it. Yes, me too. Literally and figuratively, that trailer has got me the 2 times I've seen it, and it's just the trailer, so I can only imagine how the movie's going to break me.
Damn it, Bowie! Why did you have to write good music?
The only things I know are that it's being compared to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and one review said it was God tier Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yay. So. PTA for the win. Josephine asks, which one is more crowd friendly between Belfast, King Richard, and Licorice Pizza?
Crowd from that say King Richard.
She says, I could 100% confirm King Richard from the screening that I saw. The screening I saw Belfast. I'm sure Licorice Pizza is going to be a little different, but the ones I saw for sure.
Belfast does have that audience award from TIFF. However you want to take that.
My theater wasn't extremely into it. That's not saying anything. On a weekend night in Orlando. Josephine says, what about Mark Rylance or Rob Morgan for Don't Look Up?
I've seen Rylance thrown around. The only issue is, we were just talking about this. I have no idea. I don't know if he's in the trailer or not, but I have no idea what Rylance's part is.
Hang on.
I don't know if that would help knowing that, but.
Well, Ashley looks up stuff on camera like he always does. Josephine says, Fun fact about Anders Danielson live from the worst person in the world. He's a doctor who was a first responder during COVID. Talk about a narrative. Let's see. We'll get to actress in a second. Smurfy boy in top hat. Don't worry. So yeah, we're about to go into best actress.
In terms of like the British certificates, all I know is that Belfast and King Richard are both 12A. Belfast basically because of the moderate threat, discrimination, and infrequent strong language. And I'm pretty sure King Richard mainly is
It does have that. That is correct.
The moderate violence, threat, and references to racism and infrequent strong language. But out of the two of them, I'd say probably King Richard is more because it's like you know what happens to Venus and Serena in the end. And then I don't know who Mark Rylance is. It says his character name.
No one does.
It says his character name, but I don't know whether he's part of sort of the astronomy stuff or like the presidential stuff. I can't remember.
All right. Well, that means it's time for best actress.
All right, this took some moving around, but it pretty much became pretty easy just because there's one movie I'm still kind of not really devoted to. I have Chastain for The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman for The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz for Parallel Mothers, Frances McDormand for Tragedy of Macbeth, and Kristen Stewart for Spencer. I toyed with the idea of keeping Gaga anyway, but that didn't last very long. And I think I had Kidman in last time. But I'm just really, as you can see, I don't have Being the Ricardos anywhere because I'm still not sure if I have any faith in it or not. Or not so much that, but like within the competition that we have, it'll be easy for things to get shut out. And the only other person I could think of was there could potentially, it's not out of the realm of possibility, for a surprise appearance from Tessa Thompson for passing. But I feel pretty good about these five. I think really the only person that's in kind of somewhat danger of these, like if I had to pick one, Chastain, because her movie was kind of forgettable and not extremely well received, but I still think her performance is going to transcend that just fine, especially with the respect that she has in the industry. And these other, I feel good about Cruz, obviously with Parallel Mothers and Screenplay also. I've always been on this McDormand thing. A lot of people don't seem to be as passionate about McDormand has to happen as I am, but I mean, like, Frances McDormand playing Lady Macbeth is just one of those things that you would always dream about happening, but would be too good to ever happen. Like, I can't believe the world, as shitty as it is, we're gonna see Frances McDormand play Lady Macbeth. It feels unreal to me. And I don't... and you could say, oh god, she just won her third one, but it's like that only just further solidifies how much they fucking love her. You know, it's like we literally have people in the chat last year telling us Frances McDormand will never win a third one this soon, and they love her. They fucking love her, and she's playing Lady Macbeth. I'm going with her. Obviously, Stewart's probably going to remain the front runner for the foreseeable future. So that, and Olivia Colman, not only is the part in The Lost Daughter really meaty and Coleman's gonna kill it, but Coleman seems like one that's here to stay in the Academy's good graces. So she'll, anytime she gets a part like this, she'll be a safe bet. So yeah, that's where I am with those.
Ashley.
Still weird how Coleman went from like Peep Show and Mitchell and Webb and all these comedy things and Look Around You. Oh my god, Look Around You. What a show that was. So, as you tell from that, I have Olivia Colman still for Lost Daughter. Penelope Cruz is now in for Parallel Mothers. Lady Gaga for House of Gucci, because I think that is the Jennifer Hudson this year.
No.
That's the only nomination it's getting. Kristen Stewart for Spencer, and Alana Haim for Licorice Pizza. Because the fact that the character is named Alana as well, it's just like, they got lazy on set and they just and everything. So, but yeah, the buzz I've been hearing about her performance, I think, it would be Haim versus Gaga. So it would be like the Grammys all over again. Then again, Kristen Stewart was, I guess, technically a singer, because did she? Well, no, she didn't do the singing in Runaways, did she? I think. Was that?
I honestly don't know.
I'm trying to remember. Was that a Jamie Foxx as Ray Charles? Or was that a Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury situation?
I want to say she might have been lip syncing. I think.
Yeah.
But that's really a guess.
It's a Chadwick Boseman and Get On Up. But yeah.
By the way, lip syncing does not equal bad performance, and that myth needs to die. So.
Exactly.
That performance by Chadwick, I think is one of his better performances. I honestly put that somewhere even further up than some of his stuff as Black Panther and some of the Avengers stuff.
Yeah.
Because he just gets the he doesn't have
easily.
He doesn't have to have the voice, but he just has the essences and the smooth and the ooziness. That's not even it is a word, but it's not the right word. But it screamed James Brown, even though it wasn't exactly sort of like his voice, because he was miming. But
your analysis is on fire, Tim.
Haim.
I'm gonna scream if this internet situation doesn't right itself. Eventually, we'll get started. Smurfy Boy says Stewart, Chastain, Coleman, Kidman, and Cruz. Top hat says Chastain, Gaga, Kidman, McDormand, Stewart. I think Gaga has enough star power to survive the Gucci bad press, but we must see how the next month plays out. Josephine says with 6 potential drama nods for Golden Globes, including Dunn King Richard, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, and Tragedy Macbeth, which one do you think is most likely to miss?
I mean, if we're talking Golden Globes, it's probably between Dune and Nightmare Alley in terms of what might miss. Because the Globes don't really seem to care about...
Don't forget the Globes went for Avatar, so come on.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think they're trying to sort of say that, we're a serious awards thing. But then not realizing that not putting Dune in means that like you're ignoring the one that most people would have seen. I mean, it depends. It depends on what we hear about Nightmare Alley on Wednesday from the premiere as to whether it delivers or not.
All right. Brian says Haim, Kidman, Lawrence, McDormand, and Stewart. And Josephine asks, do you think Being Ricardo's will be comedy or drama? I think it's comedy. Yeah, if it's drama, it's pretty much already in a packed category, which we've already alluded to earlier. So,
I mean, comedy makes sense.
All right.
It's that sort of like... It's light-hearted enough to sort of be considered probably comedy.
All right, so my actress lineup remains to be Nicole Kidman for Being the Ricardos, Frances McDormand for Tragedy of Macbeth, and Kristen Stewart for Spencer. I mentioned Nightmare Alley getting the bootski. Before the category was announced, Kate Blanchett got bumped out. For yes, Lady Gaga for House of Gucci. I'm going to keep it there. And yeah, AJ was talking about having both Chastain and Cole and deciding which one you want to go with. Well, I made mine into my best actress lineup. So we shall see where we go with this. Speaking of see where we go with this, best actor.
All right. This is also kind of a tough one, but I feel okay with what I'm looking at. Maybe. I have, after some thinking and rearranging, Benedict Cumberbatch for The Power of the Dog, Peter Dinklage for Cyrano, Andrew Garfield for Tick, Tick, Boom, Will Smith for King Richard, and Denzel for Macbeth.
Half and half.
What was that? Should I keep going, or?
I guess.
So, the first thing that gave me pause here was that I have two actors from musicals, which may or may not be a gamble in itself.
I didn't hear. It kind of like I don't.
Oh, great! We've got the tech issues are actually on Owen's side this time. We're off at the AJ's.
How?
I don't know.
That came
I'm
through.
the only good internet of the three of us, and that's a shoot.
Wow. Keep in mind you're having to connect to me, so and everybody is seeing what my internet is. So that's already sort of a problem because I'm trying to get signal from across the Atlantic Ocean. So but either way, so I'm guessing you want the 5 listed again by AJ because you didn't hear them. Maybe he's frozen now. And then he's muted, and then he's.
I'm not frozen. I'm trying to go silent. I'm trying to go silent so I don't break up the connection. Continue.
Oh, right.
So, obviously, for the whole season, I've been really on the Phoenix thing for Come On, Come On. But I feel, I mean, it could be biased because I love the movie so much. But I just feel good about Garfield. Like I first put him in last time as almost kind of a Hail Mary thing because we hadn't really heard anything about the movie yet back then. And after seeing it, I just really hope it happens. And it's, for as great as he is and as many great performances he's been putting out, it's kind of crazy. This would only be his second nomination if it happened. And he's playing somebody that any person that's ever tried to do something creative in their life can relate to. I mean, if that's not going to get you a shitload of votes, I mean, then what the hell even is this ceremony for? Don't answer that. But so really what I was coming down to was I going to go with Phoenix or was I going to go with Dinklage? Because Cumberbatch I've been in and out with. I think I took him out last time, but had him in before. And yeah, what he's doing is that whole thing where it's like, it's almost like I heard Daniel Plainview comparisons for a while, but it's also that thing that's really easy to love in a performance where he is kind of like almost this scary figure of sorts and this intimidating figure. So he's got the big performance like that, but then he's also got a really subtle complexity that he has to work with also. And to see kind of those two things working together is probably going to speak to a lot of voters. So as far as Phoenix versus Dinklage, it was clearly they really love Phoenix. Phoenix is probably one of the most respected people in the industry, even after that crazy ass acceptance speech. But the idea of it being down to him and Dinklage, where it's like another extremely respected figure in the industry with Dinklage, who hasn't been nominated yet, or the guy that just won. because while people do tend to get nominated again after they win, Rockwell, for instance, as a recent choice, where sometimes it doesn't even make
Hot
sense.
damn.
Yes. um, it kind of feels like Phoenix had this overdue factor when he won. And so it's like if they had to choose between him or Dinklage, maybe they might go for the person everybody loves that has shown he's an incredible actor and it made this really big impact that has yet to be nominated. So I can see that, and that might, and like you were talking about with Tick Tick Boom about it feeling cinematic and more like a movie and less like a musical in many cases, where it kind of blends the two together, might kind of factor in for that. The fact that I have two actors here from musicals, and while Cyrano might come off more like a traditional musical, Tick Tick Boom kind of doesn't. So maybe that'll balance that out.
Plus, also the fact, with at least with Garfield, um, he's got experience of doing a lot of work on stage, having done, both parts of Angels in America, both in for the National Theatre in the West End, and then when it transferred over to Broadway in like 2015 or 2016, I think. So he knows the stage work as well. Also, an interesting query to you, AJ. Do you think Spider-Man could help Garfield's Tick Tick Boom chance?
Is it confirmed that he's in it yet?
Uh, Considering there's like various leaks of like uh the three of them stood together at one point, probably. Also, there is a spot in one of those the CGI bit at the end. Okay. The CGI bit at the end of the trailer, or in one of the versions, where you see, I'm trying to remember, Lizard Man lunging into the space where Spider-Man's like ready to punch Electro or Sandman, and then all of a sudden, Lizard Man's face randomly goes. Ugh. So clearly they've CGI'd out somebody punching him. So maybe that's Andrew Garfield. In really dodgy CGI. For whatever reason. So he's probably in it. The long and short of it, yeah, is probably.
So I guess the answer to that would be if you have as much attention on you in general as possible during award season, that's good.
Mm-hmm. And as long as as long as the film delivers, because you don't want it sort of the other, Because I'm trying to think. Was Dreamgirls overshadowed by Norbit? Because was Norbit around award season or not? I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think of an instance where
I think it was out in like February.
Yeah, a film that came out during award season which negated stuff that came out a few months earlier.
I've never really bought much into that, and I feel like it was put to death with Eddie Redmayne and Jupiter Ascending. So,
but even Redmayne in hindsight now says the Danish Girl was a mistake.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I might as well go with my 5. As you can tell by me talking about Andrew Garfield, he made it in, replacing Dinklage. So I have Cumberbatch for Power of the Dog, Garfield for Tick Tick Boom, Joaquin Phoenix for Come On Come On, because, if it's good enough for Frances McDormand, it's good enough for Joaquin Phoenix. Will Smith for King Richard, and Denzel for Tragedy of Macbeth, which I think is the only place that I have it in, because it's Denzel. Although with the buzz that I'm hearing of DiCaprio's performance, maybe he has a chance to make it in, possibly the cost of Washington or Phoenix, possibly. But I think
I heard one thing. I heard one thing in particular that made me almost put him in, and that was apparently he has a speech that was compared to Peter Finch in Network.
yeah,
And,
I mean,
and that with McKay's way of writing monologues, like the first thing I thought of was the very last scene of Vice, and it was like that really could be something.
I'm trying to think of whether you mean the last scene with Cheney or the post-credit scene with the fight.
The scene where he's talking to the camera, of
Right.
course.
Just clarifying. So yeah, those are my 5. Hopefully, Owen is. I think Owen. Yeah, Owen's back. I shouldn't have said that, should I? Damn it. I'll quickly.
I just log back in and try to see if that. So
Maybe try not going with the camera and see how it just does with the
one way
audio
or-
feed. Maybe.
what picture is stuck on me? It's fine. I don't care anymore. So, name I haven't heard before. Welcome. Says Dunst, Kidman, Gaga, Holly, and Penelope Cruz. Brian says Bardem, DiCaprio, Phoenix, Smith, and Denzel. Lorraine says Cumberbatch, Driver, Washington, Cooper, and Smith. Smurfy Boy says Smith, Denzel, Cumberbatch, Garfield, and DiCaprio. Top Hat says Cumberbatch, DiCaprio, Garfield, Smith, and Washington. Apparently, there was a story Lawrence got paid less than DiCaprio, and Lawrence is extremely fortunate and happy for Don't Look Up. All right. It's odd that I'm predicting DiCaprio for actor, but not putting someone for supporting actor, not counting Lawrence or for actress. Top Hat brings up the Peter Finch Network comparisons as well. It's a shame that Cooper Hoffman can't get in like Haim, but it's because it's too packed. Don't trust leaks. Is Tom Hardy going to show up based on the post-credit scene for Venom 2?
Exactly. Like.
All right. So, another victim of the Nightmare Alley train, Bradley Cooper. He's gone. So continuing, I have Javier Bardem for being the Ricardos. They went to and put Dinklage back in out, and after seeing guys, it's so tough. But yeah, I'm gonna go with it, and I bumped out Dinklage and I put in Leonardo DiCaprio for Don't Look Up. We take this home before the internet implodes.
Oh.
AJ.
Okay, so you said DiCaprio, Garfield, Smith, Denzel, and it was the 5th one?
Bardem.
Okay.
For Ricardo's, yeah.
Hence the whole conversation we had at the beginning of this show about being all in on being the Ricardos. Hint, hint, for the next category. AJ, Best Director.
Okay. Something that needs to be taken into account when we do this. I mentioned this to you earlier, Owen. Technically, we're doing 2 things when we do this. We're predicting who's going to be nominated. So inadvertently, we are also predicting controversies that will follow when nominations are announced. because there's always one, at least.
Of course.
There's always going to be something that makes people say, "Oh, I can't believe that happened," or "Oh, the media is going to be super, super pissed." "Oh, Twitter's going to explode."
Now,
Whatever.
now I'm trying to work out which controversy that AJ is hinting at here.
Oh, there's so many options. There's so many
yes,
possibilities.
exactly.
Everybody's going to be pissed.
Get ready for what's about to happen. By the way, you've been warned.
I have Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, Kath Branagh for Belfast, Joel Cohen for The Tragedy of Macbeth, Paula Lorraine for Spencer, and Denny Villeneuve for Dune,
There it
which
is.
snubs Jane Campion.
Bye-bye, women.
But here's the
Maggie
thing. Here's the thing.
Gyllenhaal, get out of here.
Here's the thing. Is a lot. First off, I'm trying to figure out where exactly because I've been on this Campion thing along with everybody else, but I think it was like somewhere halfway through the movie I was thinking, I wonder where that's coming from. Because first off, Campion doesn't have an overdue factor because she has been nominated and she has won when the piano won screenplay, right? But it seems to be that's part of what the narrative seems to be, even though I can't really think of some. I mean, I know her movies, but as far as like stuff that would have been contenders, I feel like the closest thing after the piano was what Portrait of a Lady, which got like Barbara Hershey in, and that was it. So I don't really see where like an overdue narrative would come from necessarily. Um, Plus you've got other people in here like Adam McKay, and there's always the possibility of an international movie like Almodovar coming in, um, or Sorrentino, or there's a couple of options there. But I was watching, I saw Spencer, and I was noticing that Paula Rain really stands out. Like, there's been a lot of comparisons to Jackie going into it, obviously. But as far as somebody that's been consistently great and consistently creative with their projects, if there's somebody that kind of has they need to be nominated already kind of thing going on, um, I think it would be Lorraine. And this project in particular, like if we didn't have 10 slots, I feel like Spencer is one of those movies that feels like it could be like a Foxcatcher or a Cold War where he would get in even if the movie didn't get in picture. Because that's just really, I feel like Lorraine stands out in the movie more than Stewart does, if that says anything. Um, and yeah, so I mean, with this competition, and of course, people will say that it's great that female directors have been really coming into the competition now with Zhao just winning last year, and they'll say like, oh, now we've regressed. It's gone from Zhao winning to Campion being snubbed. We're back where we started. No, it's just a really, really competitive year. And with these, like Joel Cohen is somebody that I don't think is on many people's radars, but I'm just really devoted to this Macbeth thing. Like as you can probably tell. Like I will. This is my. I will die on the hill of Macbeth until we get there. Um, and like I said, I'm on this Villeneuve thing for as long as it'll go. Like the whole argument of Dune is either going to be Fury Road or it's going to be Blade Runner. It's either going to win a whole bunch of techs and get into at least the two big categories, or it'll just be techs. But I'm gonna bank on the Villeneuve thing for now, and I feel like Branagh and PTA don't need explanation. Obviously, Belfast is the one of the biggest contenders right now, and never bet against Paul Thomas Anderson. So, especially for a movie that sounds like it could potentially be that high up in his filmography, which says something. The bar for him is already so high, and the expectations for this are so high, and the fact that it seems like if it's as personal of a project to him as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was to Tarantino, we're in for something insane. So I wouldn't bet against PTA for any reason. So that's my 5 for that.
My 5. Uh, I did take out Maggie Gyllenhaal for Lost Daughter, but that's because for at least 1 month, alongside Paul Thomas Anderson and Kenneth Branagh and Jane Campion and Denis Villeneuve, I had to put in Lin-Manuel Miranda for Tick Tick Boom.
Nice.
For previously stated reasons.
I feel so late. I feel so late to the party because obviously Miranda's been a big deal for a very long time. And then just starting with me, like pretty much discovering Hamilton just last year, and then with him directing this, it's like I just feel like that dude just speaks to me on so many levels. Like it's like millions and millions of people have been saying that for years.
So what you're saying is Encanto for best song.
All right. So hopefully you guys can hear me.
Seems to be going all right at the minute. Fingers crossed, you know. Touch wood.
We're about to go. We're about to go home. So let's see what we got here. Top Hat says Anderson, Branagh, Campion, Del Toro, Villeneuve. Lorraine says Branagh, Campion, Cohen, Green, Villeneuve. Brian says Sorkin. Thank you for not letting me down the. Whoops! Spoiler alert. Villeneuve, Del Toro, Campion, and Spielberg. And in another universe, if Schindler's List either didn't exist or wasn't released in another year, Piano would have won director and picture. Thoughts, comments, opinions?
Yeah, almost certainly, yeah.
Smurfy Boy says Campion, PTA, Villeneuve, Brand, and Almodovar. Brian says many people are bringing up Julia. Brian also says many people thinking not in the levels that Dune could be the next Lord of the Rings during the award season, depending on how part 2 will be. One was enough. Best director for me, Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, Kenneth Branagh for Belfast. Okay. So, last time, I made a little bit of an error, and you raked me over the coals for it, deservedly so. So I was all in on saying Pablo Larraín for Spencer before AJ got this idea, but I didn't, because I'm an idiot and wrote things down wrong, and I mentioned King Richard instead, which is Ronaldo Marcus Green. Well, I do this every year, and I've done this already today, so I throw a third option. Why not both? So yes, I have kept Ronaldo Marcus Green for King Richard, and I have replaced AJ, you're not dying on the hill alone, Jane Campion's Power of the Dog with Pablo Larraín for Spencer. And I took out Del Toro for Aaron Sorkin. Because if we're going to go all in on being the Ricardos, Aaron Sorkin follows suit. Now, Adam McKay was an option here too, honestly. And I thought about it, but not yet. Maybe, but not yet. And yes, I was also going to go the Lin-Manuel Miranda route as well at one point. But I couldn't justify it with the 5 I already had. So, yeah, I'm okay with my director lineup. Will it change next month? Maybe. But right now, I know what you're thinking. This is obviously the elephant in the room right now telling me, Owen, you don't have Dune anywhere.
Dune!
I'm fully aware of this. And I'm fully aware that I may have to eat some crow come next month. But right now, my feet are on solid ground, and Dune is not in my lineups.
The sandworm has not made the ground loose enough.
It better not look like a snake. I cannot use anything from Dune because to this day, because of the way scheduling is, I still haven't been able to see it yet. Now, I'm watching it soon, and if we don't get anything this Friday, which is possible that we won't, this may be the time I finally have to watch it. So I may have a different opinion come December, year's end, but right now, Dune's not in my lineup, and it's going to stay that way, even though I know 100% I'm in the minority here.
Something I've just thought about. If they never made Dune, would Tremors have happened?
What a great thing to talk about. And I wonder if there's videos that exist about those movies or television series coming to this network or have already been there. Oh, yeah, there is. And it's going to end on October 31st.
I just love how we've, like, Ashley has now recreated the chicken and egg debate with Tremors.
Well, there's another thing that we can debate now, and that's so we can take it home so the internet doesn't die on all of us. Best Picture!
Did Dune create the Sarlacc pit? It's all this metaphysical stuff. Anyway, what's your 10H?
I'm pretty sure that one's a yes. All right. After some rearranging, I have Belfast, Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, The Lost Daughter, The Power of the Dog, Spencer, Tick Tick Boom, and The Tragedy of Macbeth. I still feel like, especially with the 10 slots, we're gonna get a 10th one that's completely out of fucking nowhere.
Massive.
And there's always something that comes in at the last minute that we're just not banking on at all. Like I only remember a handful of people talking about Judas and the Black Messiah in picture before it happened. There were some, but there were not many at all. And it feels like there's at least one of those, and especially with 10 slots, we would definitely have one.
Going back to when we had 10, I honestly didn't think Toy Story 3 would make the step up to Best Picture.
Yeah. And for a while now, my go-to 10th slot was West Side Story. But we kind of, when Ashley brought it up in the last video, I was talking about how it kind of clicked with me that The Lost Daughter could be here. Because it does seem to be, the reactions to it seem to be very strong. And if I'm going on all in on this Buckley thing, along with Coleman and the screenplay feeling very, very good, with 10 slots, why not? Yeah. So the stuff that I took out was the obvious stuff: Nightmare Alley, House of Gucci, and whatever the other one was.
Film. So important, doesn't matter. Here. You mean Ashley's like prime? This person insert for something.
The Atlanta Falcons.
Best Picture, Ashley.
I can't remember what went in and out, but my 10 are Belfast, Don't Look Up, Dune, French Dispatch. I'll get back to that. Hand of God, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Lost Daughter, Mass, and Power of the Dog. Yeah, French Dispatch is still in here. Because I think there are some people that are just going... French Dispatch is sort of like like it was sort of with Parasite, it's like they're just going to acknowledge everything about the film just because of the cast list. It doesn't have to sort of gel well, but I think, to be honest, that's probably like number 9 or 10, if that. So that's like really on the cusp of being got rid of. And I'm putting Mass in just as to put a big middle finger to Bleecker Street. And like, we've got a good film. I'm hoping there's enough. I'm just double checking. How long have we got between... Oh god, we've only got 2 weeks between the... Oh god, we've only got 5 days between the BAFTA nominations and the Oscar nominations. That might be enough time. I guess the only thing that might help it is the fact that the Independent Spirit Award nominations are December 14th. So hopefully it gets a lot of recognition there. And maybe the critics might give it some love that same week as well with their votes. I have no confidence in the Globes. Critics' Choice, yes. Golden Globes. And those of you that say, why not both? You saw what happened last year with the Golden Globes. Never again. So yeah, that's the French Dispatch. It probably is a weird call, but I just think it's. I want to put it there just because I don't feel confident enough yet in putting Passing back in, or Tick Tick Boom, or maybe Nightmare Alley gets back in, depending how it's received this week. Or maybe because we're trying to connect with the people, if it turns out really good, Spider-Man might show up in here. Considering how everybody's putting it number one on their greatest Spider-Man movies ever list.
I don't even know how to take that part of the conversation. Somebody
put a Twitter list of like their tier list, or not tier list, but like ranked from 1 to 10, like best and worst films. And on half of them, number one was Spider-Man No Way Home, and I'm like, how? It doesn't even. How, according to some people, the VFX is like being really rushed, hence why it's all being done somewhat last minute. That's why, in 3 hours' time, for those of you in America, you'll be able to book your tickets for something that's, 19 days away? Give or take? Oh no, 19 days is for the UK release, I think. Whatever.
Alright. That was a random thing. Anyway, Brian says, being the Ricardos, Belfast, Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. Top Hat says, Belfast, Don't Look Up, Dune, House of Gucci, which is his 10th spot. King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, Tragedy of Macbeth, West Side Story. I'm seeing a lot of overlap here. Lorraine says, Belfast, Don't Look Up, Dune, House of Gucci, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Mass, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, Tragedy of Macbeth. Brian says, are sure about putting 4 Netflix in picture since we've only had 2 so far?
So look at what we're looking at. I'm not sure how much you want to put into the whole distributing the distributors kind of thing.
Fair.
Because obviously campaigning's important, but a lot of these you only have to put out there so far and they'll start speaking for themselves.
Plus, keep in mind, to some extent, Dune and King Richard do have the mass appeal because of the fact that they were available day and date on HBO Max as well, of which we'll never know about viewing figures with that, because they don't want to do a chart. Even Netflix has buckled and said, we'll give you a chart. You want to see a chart? Here's a chart.
Lorraine says House of Gucci, she's going to see it tomorrow. It's possible my list can change drastically in 24 hours. Yeah, Brian confirmed it was French Dispatch you took out, AJ.
That's right.
Smurfy Boy says, Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, Power of the Dog, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, Dune, Tick Tick Boom, Tragedy of Macbeth, and Lost Daughter. Brian says, maybe 5 Netflix films if you count Passing. Also like how people put Avengers Endgame as the best MCU film when it's just Back to the Future fan service. Yeah, work for that overrated piece of crap Deadpool. Anyway...
In all honesty, I partly agree with that, in that I think Infinity War is a stronger film than Endgame, because they had the balls to do what they did with the snap. And you wanted a good cliffhanger? Too bad. Depression.
So my Best Picture lineup stays the same with one notable exception. So Best Picture still being The Ricardos, Belfast, Spencer, Don't Look Up, The French Dispatch, King Richard, Power of the Dog, Licorice Pizza, Tragedy in Macbeth, and yes, I mentioned earlier, and I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, Nightmare Alley. Shoop, you're gone for now at least, and you have been replaced by Tick Tick Boom. I think that is our show. So if there's anything else you have in live chat to say, please say it real quick so we can get everybody's comments in before we take it home as I get ready to do the outro here. So yeah, this podcast is for November 28th. It is now October 27th on the Popcast network as of this moment. That's going to be rectified real soon, so don't worry. We're going to fill in the blanks very soon. Cross the T's and dot the lowercase j's. So, always. Ashley, you can be found on social media at AshIsMyNameUK. We have Ashley content coming in the near future, probably before the year's over.
Well, no, there's 2 videos that I need to upload to you, and there's another 2 or 3 that I need to get working on. So there'll be some stuff. I'm trying to work out whether we need to put what order we need to put them in, because like I don't want to put the Christmas one too early in November.
No, November's fine. I've got November taken care of. Don't forget, as soon as I get these last reviews from AJ, it's shoot time to like go into like video overload, and you're gonna get a lot of. I've got a lot of sipping snacks that I've filmed already, and some that I haven't filmed. I've got a ton of Voices of Liberty content, and yeah, I got Water Parks video from the concert Friday night because I was in the pit, so I had really good video. So that's coming on the network soon too. So yeah, AJ, of course, cannot be found on social media, and of course, just like I always say every month, he cannot be killed by conventional weapons. Needless to say, if you want to leave a comment for him, feel free to do so on a video. AJ actually got invited recently to do another podcast, so that was cool. I know AJ would love to do something like that, but it's something that doesn't really work in. Like, thank you for the offer. Of course, we appreciate when anything happens like that. AJ, would you like to elaborate a little bit?
Are you telling me you didn't do this yet?
I thought it would be better to do it on. To be fair, I thought it'd be better to do it on camera so it'd come from your words instead of my typing.
I mean, the idea of that sounds fun, but I've got too much of an anxiety issue as far as like this whole thing. Like there's a certain comfort zone I have trouble leaving. It has nothing to do with like the other people or anything. It's just a general thing. It's what I live with every fucking day. And it's that's how I respond to that on the
So yeah, we honestly, it's just I feel like it was better for it to come from AJ's words instead of me trying to type AJ's words, because sometimes I get things crossed. So yeah, we don't cross the streams of the networks. So needless to say,
I mean, to be fair, probably the only reason I'm here is I know how to operate the bloody stream.
we do appreciate everyone that's taking time to enjoy that. You also come through with the most bizarre things in August that end up being the things that stick throughout the entire duration of the season. So you always have the weirdest takes that end up being the most accurate.
Weirdly though, this year, because it's sort of like Belfast, I'm now seen as like the copycat, even though I was like championing it before everything else.
That's fair. Top Hat says it's the year of Donkey with headphones. I just know it.
Oh yeah.
Brian says, "Oh wait, animated feature: Belle and Kanto flee the Mitchells versus the Machines and Ray and the Last Dragon." We'll get there. We will get there. Do not worry. It will happen. That's gonna be your show. So thanks for joining us for the last almost 2.5 hours as we talked about our predictions for the 2022 Academy Awards, at least in the Big 8 categories. And hopefully we will be, there's no hopefully, we will be back this time next month, which I'm trying to see what that date is because I don't have it in front of me. Yeah, I do. So I would say it's probably going to be, it's Christmas week, obviously. So I don't know if it's going to end up being like day after Christmas or maybe Monday the 27th. Obviously, I'll be in Jacksonville on the 29th, and we don't really do anything on New Year's on this network, so that's a Friday anyway. So needless to say, I'll probably be at the theater anyway. So yeah, I'd say probably, tentatively speaking, either day after Christmas or the Monday after Christmas, so the 26th or the 27th. So stay tuned.
As long as it's after Don't Look Up comes out, that would be best.
Well, that's Christmas
When's
Eve.
its official?
Christmas Eve,
Okay.
It goes live on Netflix.
I would say right now, if I had to hinge my bets on it, I'm going to say the 27th of December. It may be the 26th. It's going to be one of those 2 days. So stay tuned at Suro and Disney for more information. And also, if you're wanting to see more content on the network, it's going to be posted as soon as, except for this one. This one, of course, won't go up until November 27th is over. But yeah, you're going to be able to see it on the front page here on Popcast Network. So Lorraine gets the last word. I have a feeling Mitchell's will get snubbed. We'll talk animated soon enough. That's your show.
That would be an irony considering what happened with the Lego movie.
That's fair.
I was going to say, it can't get snubbed. Olivia Colman's in it.
Oh, well, there you go. Problem solved.
So yeah, that's your show, everyone. Thank you for joining us here in the month of November, and we'll see you again on a month from now. And thank you, Ashley, for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for providing the internet that we do these podcasts with, because they had to kill Google Hangouts to make it even worse on us.
Hey, I'm just pleased
AJ.
that we only had 0.4% of drop frames on this one compared to some previous ones. So, in that respect, my internet's doing better. My God.
There we go. And AJ, thank you for joining us again. Very soon you'll be able to rest after the long haul of watching movies. And thanks everyone for watching us. Thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. Go listen to Greatest Hits and support Danhausen. And until next month, boys and girls, that's all we got to say about that.
Rosebud. Hey, it's me. It's a donkey with headphones. Only kidding. It's me, Jared Leto. Bye-bye. See you next time. And we're done.